Okay, I think we're doing it. If this goes well, then this is the only one I'm gonna do. So, um, okay. When it's dark and it's gloomy. This is my name's Drayton Lewis. This is Tactful Isms or Breath of Experience or any of these other things. And it is also my HMXP Final. It's considered half baked because that's kind of sort of the point. So, opening paragraph. All tactful isms really describes is the process of selectively choosing different ideologies and different mindsets to meet what you feel is appropriate for yourself, if that makes sense. This is going to play because it looks cool. Just ignore it, it's fine. um, and more so, freeing yourself from the idea of like a personal narrative. I think a lot of people um, feel that they need to be the sort of person that they seem to be, or a lot of people are afraid of change because they're afraid of being hypocritical of themselves, of their idea of themselves. Just checking that it's working. Is it working? Maybe we'll see. Anyway, yeah, so it refers to the isms and tactful isms, absurdism, but also pragmatism, and some tangentially related things like hypocrisy and romanticism. Me personally, I love to place my heart on my sleeve. I think it is just the most effective way to go about life. So you're welcome to read this. Um, it's a little bit chunky, but that's once again on purpose. So yeah. As far as my book cover is concerned, is it gonna let me? Okay, fine. My book cover, I think the best book cover to do for tactful isms would be something really striking and really simple, but with an underlying meaning. So I chose this painting called Blue Monochrome by this guy named Yves Klein. It's right there, highlighted, and I would fade that, not just have it blocked out, but have it fade into a really similar color of blue to illustrate the way that two things that look really similar can have vastly different meaning and the way that that sort of applies to the mindset as a whole. Um, Blue monochromatic, he actually is invented a new shade of blue for this painting. Um, and it's sort of like Rabbit in a Snowstorm, if you've ever seen that. I think it's from a TV show. But basically, just the idea of like, okay, when are we placing meaning on things? When some guy puts it on a canvas, or when he invents a whole new color for it? Is the blue here just as valid as the blue for blue monochromatic? When does that meaning change? When are the lines blurred? Right? Okay. Um, my thesis statement for life and how I came to this realization happened, I'm at where I'm at now because of things that have happened in my past realizations. So, number one, I've watched and experienced people ignore opportunities and change out of fear for not being who they think they ought to be. Uh, in specific, I've seen it with my mom a lot personally. Scared to try something new because I just don't seem like that kind of person, or it's just not my thing, even though they've never tried it. Like, of course, sometimes you know, right? If you're not a mayonnaise person, you think it's disgusting, it makes you want to puke. You're not going to be like super all over deviled eggs, but there's a little bit of a blurred line there. So I watched that growing up, experienced that growing up, and that sort of put into my mindset like, okay, well, these aren't the happiest people I know. Where do I need to change from that? To I've been hurt, and I've grown past the hurt quite a few times. I realized it's something that's inevitable and therefore not to be feared. Uh, you know, Putting yourself out there, especially in like romantic situations, the first however many times you do it until it sticks, it doesn't stick. And every time it doesn't stick, it does suck. But some people just decide that they're going to hide from life forever to not get hurt. And it's like, well, dude, you're giving yourself the short end of the stick there, right? Like you're pulling the short straw for yourself, for your life. And honestly, I also feel like being hurt and growing past that hurt, number one, the feeling of growth is so fulfilling and is so important, especially while we're young. You can really tell college is this like massive mixing pool of people from all different walks of life and all different stages of life and all different levels of maturity and intelligence and this and that within a 4 or 5 year age range and like 2 square miles. So you see so many different people and you see so many people that walk into a room with like no idea of who they are or like a palpable insecurity about them, which I have myself, but I recognize it needs to be, I need to grow past that. Number three, I've always wanted to try many new things and have many different experiences slash morbid curiosity. I mean, it's basically as it says. I've always kind of been someone that's like, well, maybe I'll like it this time. Or I always say, I do literally say this. I say, I'll try anything twice, which is true. Try the first time, second time to make sure. Um, I don't know. And I think breadth of experience, like I said, it's tactful absurdism, but it's also breadth of experience. I want to try every little intricate thing that I can, gain this like basin of experience and therefore knowledge. And that helps me to make gradually more and more informed decisions. And so therefore it becomes less and less a shot in the dark and more so an understanding of who I am and what I like. That goes along with morbid curiosity. Sometimes you gotta fuck around and find out. That's the whole point. Like a sentence that I didn't put on the title screen that I should have maybe is stop and smell the roses and eat a few petals. Cause like, why are you stopping there? It's not gonna taste great. Maybe it will. I mean, they do it in China. There's like rose flavored things all over China. But um, number four, by learning about sociology and psychology, I did a year of psychology in Arizona, sociology major here. I've come to realize that there is most likely infinite nuance to any situation, and the snowball effect is constantly applicable. Well, what do I mean by that? Okay. Um, snowball effect. I personally don't believe in astrology. However, I think the notion that a child born in the summer who, just by developmental terms, has their first steps in the summer following or something like that, and like their first steps are outside and it's warm and they're with people and they're barefoot, and you compound all of those little developmental differences between someone who was born in the winter and had their first steps indoors, just their family in boots, like those people, I think by the time they're done developing, there's a good chance they're going to have different preferences. There's a good chance that they're going to have a slightly different outlook. Not just because of that first step, but one thing leads you to another, leads you to another. Like you own a white car and you didn't like it. You don't want your next car to be white. It has nothing to do with the car itself. It's just little changes and you end up in an entirely different place because of that. So that, as well as the acknowledgement of infinite nuance, right? Learning about sociology, I've learned that the social institutions behind our society are incredibly impactful on individuals and on individual development, individual raising, to some extent culture as well. Like think about the disenfranchisement, the way that African Americans in America are sort of thrown aside at times, and then contrast that with like the nature of a genre of music like hip hop, which is known to be braggadocious and loud in your face because it's sort of like this is a little bit of a reach, but it's sort of like now you have to see me. And I love hip hop. Not particularly for that reason, but I think there are a lot of little details there to notice. I also believe infinite nuance, that's sort of an argument for absurdism itself existing. You don't get it. I don't get it. Flat out, period. What's the point of trying? You might as well enjoy it. And that's why nihilism has never made sense to me either. So, okay, nothing matters. You're going to be bummed out about it. You're wasting your own time. You are aware that you have consciousness. And if that's all you know, why would you spend all of your time feeling like shit? That's a silly thing to do. Okay, let's see. Oh crap. No, 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 no. It's fine. It's fine. I've been trying it out. I made a pretty conscious effort starting last semester through this semester to just try new things for the sake of trying new things, explore new ideas. You know, um, I think one of the more broad applications to this idea and lifestyle, especially at my age, is getting into like romantic relationships with people that it's not going to work out. Not because you don't like them, but it's more so like, hey, I'm like for me in Arizona, I was moving. I am moving regardless of whether or not we get along super well. But why would I deny myself? And of course, be communicative. Like, underline under all this is don't be a dick. Be communicative, be open. Hey, I'm gonna be gone, but like I still like you. Let's see what happens. Worst case scenario is exactly what you said happens. Best case scenario is you're like, oh crap, I'm in love with this person. We got to figure out long distance. I have to live in Arizona or something like that, which didn't happen, but that's always there. And coin flips, that's another thing. Oh crap, sorry. It's okay. Coin flips. I have just started being like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. I'm legitimately in between either way. I just flip a coin and then do obey the coin. I mean, it's a little silly. Like you're an adult, make your own choices. But it really helps me get over that social anxiety hump. Like there have been a couple times where I'm walking home from Thompson or something, and I'm like, oh, do I want to go say hey to the people at the Rock Wall? I work there, but I don't always go in. I flip a coin. The coin's like, yeah, and I say okay, and I go in there and I have a great time for 20 minutes that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And yeah, I think coin flips are honestly a tactic that we just need to be utilizing more. There have been studies that show what you want as soon as you flip a coin. So when you flip a coin, either you know what you want by the time it lands, or you don't know and you got an answer anyway. Can't lose. That being said, all of that being said, breadth of experience, trying new things, no matter what, leaving, not leaving a trail of destruction, but allowing yourself to take up space and time in people's lives. That being said, all of this requires a near equal amount of self reflection and tact. Am I making this decision because it is related to what I want, who I want to be, the things I want to learn, the things I want to experience? Or do I feel like doing a dumb thing right now? Sometimes you can do a dumb thing, but you know, in the earlier example of getting into a relationship with someone, you're not gonna don't go out and get yourself hurt on purpose. You know it's gonna hurt when it ends. That's how it goes. But pretending that there's not the middle ground there is what makes that decision tactful, and self-reflection after the fact and constantly during is what prevents it from being completely self-destructive as a habit. So tactful isms. Choose your moments to be absurd. Choose your moments to hypocritize yourself. Do things that are ugly. I'm green right now, probably. If the face cam's working, that's part of it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, for me, it looks like, well, let me read number 7, and then I'll explain it. Above all, understand that if you've left a situation where both parties are fundamentally for the worse, you've done harm, and then you've wasted both people's times. Growth is not harm. Joy is not harm. happiness, understanding, all of those things are harm. Neutral or good is what we're aiming for. Sometimes a little bit of negative has to come with a little bit of positive to equal out neutral. But if you're like getting into 2 week relationships with people and telling them you love them and then ghosting them, that's not a nice thing to do. Maybe instead you're like, hey, I really like this person, let's connect. And I'm going to feel like crap for a couple weeks when it's over. But I will also learn so much from them and have so much fun. And that's where we're at, right? It's leading with compassion, leading with love, but being willing to put yourself out there as well. Um, Thank you. This is, I believe, the end. Is it recording? Is a great question. It is recording. I don't know how long it is. And I don't know how OBS works. So I'll talk a little bit. Wait, 1547. Okay, there's other stuff before this. Anyway, so that's sort of where I'm at. I think tactful absurdism, you know, enjoying the little, that looks like enjoying the little moments, enjoying the big moments, critiquing yourself, trying to gain understanding, allowing yourself ignorance. It's playing both sides, right? It's like if you think about your life as a tapestry or a quilt, like you've heard like the tapestry of life before, it's making that as complex and interesting as possible for yourself. It's, you know, going up to someone looking fugly. You look fugly, not the other person. And then the same day going, not talking to anyone and looking great. It's, let's see, what's a good one? What's a good one? I don't know, man. That's kind of where I'm at. That's my personal sort of philosophy take. I was raised Christian. I put this in my essay, but I was raised Christian. I'm not Christian anymore, but I think a lot of the values there about compassion, loving thy neighbor, turning the other cheek, pulling a branch out of your eye, or whatever, those all really still make sense. Um, so that's what it is. Yeah. Tactful isms, or breadth of experience, is giving yourself the freedom to grow in any direction that feels appropriate while still leading with compassion. And on the other side of it, coming out a more complex, interesting, lived, hopefully well rounded person. Thank you for your time.